Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Homeschool Show brought to you by North Carolinians for Home Education. I'm Amanda Wayers, your host, and today I have with me a very special guest, Diane Helfrich. Hi, Diane.
Hey, Amanda, how are you?
I am doing well. I hope you are. So, I would love for you to please introduce yourself to our audience. Just tell us a little bit about you, your kids, homeschooling, all of that.
As Amanda said, I'm Diane Helfrich, and I have two kids. My first child was in public school until he was in second grade, and he was very bright and tuning out. And so his second grade teacher had homeschooled in Germany with the military and said he would be a perfect homeschooler. Why don't you pull him out before we lose him? And
Oh,
so
wow.
we had looked at private schools. We couldn't afford that. And so we decided to go ahead and do the homeschooling. And so we pulled out, and I was thinking, we'll try this for a while. How many of you have done that? And then we ended up not looking back, and we stayed with it the whole time. So my daughter never went to public school. She was homeschooled the whole way. So we graduated two. They are both highly successful adults. My son now has 4 master's degrees, and he finished his PhD. We are so excited. And my daughter is in Japan. She's married to a Marine. They just had their first child 2 weeks ago, so I'm a new grandma. So that's exciting. And I'm married to David, who worked for the military in the intelligence world for many, many, many years. And so I had a career. And when my second child was born, I said, I can't go back. And so I stayed at home, much to my husband's dismay, because that changes your budget quite a lot. And
Yes.
but it was something that was in my heart, and I do not regret that choice at all, even though it meant a lot of sacrifices. So the homeschooling journey was fabulous. And like I said, both of my kids are doing exceedingly well. And the best part of it is I got to learn a lot of cool stuff with them. So
That's so awesome. I love that. I love that so much. So then I know when I first met you in NCHE, I think both of your kids had already graduated, right? When you
right.
started?
I joined NCHE the year my daughter graduated. So I was coming in as a retired homeschooler. And the little of the
Okay.
background on that is that the co-op that I was in here in Fayetteville had long-term people on the board. In fact, back when the board was first established, Sandy Crossman was on the board. And for this region, the regional liaison had always been from our co-op. And so it passed on down to a couple of people. And the person on the board at the time that was the regional liaison wanted to take a director position. So she asked me if I would consider being the regional liaison. And I was so impressed with the board. I mean, when you're not on it, you kind of put them on a pedestal. And, we're just folks, and we're just people who love homeschooling, and we're doing our best to help you all. So I agreed to be on it. And so I started as a regional liaison. And then I moved to the secretarial position out of the regional liaison. And then there was a need in the board. And I'm kind of in my life, I'm a gap filler. If there's something that needs to be done, I'm the person that I'm happiest when I can fill in and make something work that's not working. So there was a need for a development director, but there was also a need for someone else to change positions for physical reasons. So I accepted the development position. And so now I am the NCHE fundraiser. And I enjoy I've learned that fundraising is about, radical hospitality. It's loving on you all. And so that is what I love about doing it. So
That is so neat. I love that. It's been so fun for me as I've done this series, and we still have several to go, but to talk to people of how they come to NCHE as an organization and the different roles that they fill along the way. I think it's so neat. It really is. And ultimately, I think all of us have in common that we love homeschooling. We love homeschoolers. We want to make homeschooling the best it can possibly be in North Carolina and beyond. And that's why we do what we do. Um, but yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say that, I'm quite a few years past homeschooling, so why do I stay with it? It is
Yeah.
exactly what you just said, Amanda. I- I'm watching things in turmoil all around me, and
Yes.
I teach kids at Sunday school, and I see
Hmm.
how well they write or not, how well they speak or not, what their thought processes are. And the homeschooling world, we are doing such a fabulous job of raising our kids and teaching them to think and teaching them to go out and explore new things. And, you look at colleges, they love homeschoolers. They know how to interact with professors. They know how to study. They know how to manage a schedule. And I really believe that the future leaders of this country, whether it's entrepreneurs or legislators or lawyers or teachers, or they're going to come from the homeschool world because we are doing such a fabulous job of raising our kids. And I believe in that enough that I've stayed involved with it for quite a while. So that is why I keep going when I wouldn't need to.
Yes. I love that too. I know, and I know you've seen this with your own kids. I know I've seen it with my kids, even beyond college into the workforce, that
Mhm.
my kids, even my millennials and whatever the next one is, the one after millennials that are my kids' generation, they really are different as far as their work ethic, as far as their ability to self start and all of that. It's really, and I can tie that directly to homeschooling. So I know you've seen that too with your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so neat.
We give them a good base for life.
Yes, 100%. And even though I know as the fundraiser, the development director, it can be hard. I would think it would be hard to feel like you're asking people for money all the time, but really, it's so much deeper than that. It's so much broader than that. Um, we're not just asking for money, right?
Right. We're really asking for people to participate in making sure that homeschooling in North Carolina remains good. We're one of the best states in the nation to homeschool, and we are the largest per capita state for homeschooling. And
Yeah.
it's very good here. And we don't our kids don't have to face the indoctrination that is coming in our
Yes.
schools. They don't have to face the attitudes. And I think what is more, what is sillier to put a child with a group of same aged kids for 13 years and very few adults, or to have them in a rich world full of people of all ages, all occupations? I mean, kids are exposed to a lot of things. And so they're going to come out knowing more and appreciating people on a different level. It's unavoidable.
True. Absolutely. Um, And I know, so every week I do a Homeschool Helps with Amanda little snippet. And today we're talking about curriculum with Homeschool Helps with Amanda. I see people ask all the time. They start homeschooling, and a lot of times they're coming from a public school or private school background where their curriculum is just handed to them. It is what it is. And now they're having to choose. And it can be overwhelming, but is it really necessary? Do you need to spend a ton of money on curriculum? Do you need to pick a really involved program? Do you need all of that? And I know you have a particular experience with that. So why don't you share with us your experience homeschooling as far as curriculum goes? And then I'll share my thoughts as well.
Okay, we were curriculum minimalists.
Mhm.
I hated counting barrels in first grade and it never got better. So math was not going to be my thing. So we didn't use any curriculum until the kids were about 8 or so. And then I introduced math. And then in the middle school years, I introduced science. Um, I was biology major, so I had science background, but I didn't remember how to balance chemical equations and things. So we
Ah,
did add science in there, and there's a lot of memorization and things. So those were the only two formal curricula that we used the entire time. We followed our noses. My son, if you've followed any of the Facebook groups, you've heard my story, but my son wanted to build a stink gun to send bad smells at his sister. And he had gotten something off of Mythbusters. And
mhm,
so it turned into a vortex physics project that we ran for 3 years. And we looked at both air things where the vortex happens in the air. And
mhm,
we also looked at vortices in the water and looked at saltwater ocean mixing and stuff. Now, this is when he was in fifth, sixth, and seventh grade. We were working with a guy from MIT. And that's because he put his email on an article that was pertinent to what we were looking at. So we
mm,
emailed him and said, would you like to help review what we're doing and give us suggestions? What college professor is not going to be excited about a young kid who's interested
mhm,
in a cool topic? And so
mhm.
it wasn't that I had a deep physics background. Remember the counting barrels, that was not in my wheelhouse. But I learned that if you read enough physics journals, you start catching on. And so we did that. We did another study where we wanted to look at how inventions influenced history. So we started at 5000 BC and we picked a major invention and studied kind of what was going on in the world at that time and what happened and what it changed in society. So we spent a whole year looking for those things. There's no
Mm,
textbook that does that. But
yeah,
you do a lot of research, and that seeded my kids both really well for doing a lot of research in college. And because we were researching and doing it on our own, there was a lot of paper writing. So we got
ah,
really good at writing technical papers where you have the bibliography and you have the references and all of that. So that was a key focus for us, but it was whatever we were interested in, we followed it. My daughter
mm,
wanted to learn about philosophy. We went through 10 books of
yeah,
philosophers, starting back with Plato and Aristotle and going all the way up through Hofstadter and I Am a Strangeloop. So we read Nietzsche, we read Machiavelli, we read the Communist Manifesto, we read all
yeah,
of that stuff. And I
yeah,
came out of that with a total new awareness of how important it is to think about how people think, how people interact, how wars happen, how peace happens, how finances work. All of that came from that. It was a fabulous study. And again, there's not a high school curriculum that had that. So
no,
we just did what we were interested in. It was fabulous. But I had to be willing to learn with them because I didn't know these things.
sure. And what a beautiful, I mean, it sounds to me like if you had an internet connection and a library card, you could do what you did, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, the research finding, schooling has changed. And I actually watched a
Mm,
TED talk at one point that said, what is schooling? Because everything is online. So the smartest teacher now, it's not about going to them for knowledge. It used to be about going to them for knowledge. It's not now.
right.
Now it's learning how to learn. And so that's
Right.
what we do really well in homeschooling. And it does not have to cost a lot. The world is your oyster.
Yes.
Another cool thing that we did, we participated with NASA through
Mm,
Sarah's Cool, which evaluated clouds. We'd go out at certain times a day when the satellites were passing over. and evaluate the clouds here and turn in our data. And they had school kids from all over the country doing that to validate the information they were getting from the satellites. And so we learned a tremendous lot about weather doing that. And it's,
Yeah.
you can go wherever you want with it. But I will say there's nothing wrong with curricula. Not everybody is willing to dig in and explore and learn the way we did. We had a ball doing that. It would stress some people out to the max. And
Yes.
so you have to find what your niche is. But I want people to not be afraid to step out of the box.
Exactly. That is 100% what I was going to say, that I think the point of all of this is that our homeschools don't have to look like the public schools, and hopefully they won't. They don't have to look like a brick and mortar classroom situation, that it can look like exploring things and researching and learning together, that it is a total different paradigm. And when we shift our minds from the school mindset, then it just opens up so much to us. Now, I know, I will say, when we first started homeschooling, that my daughter was in a school for 4 years and we started homeschooling, and I was not, I had a 4 year old, a 2 year old, and then the 9 year old. And I was not in a place where I felt like I could take on a lot of that. I needed some external structure. I felt like I needed that. And we did use a curriculum that provided some of that structure. But what I found was that with the structure, it still allowed so much freedom within that structure to jump off and go explore different topics and things like that. So even if you feel like, okay, I need the structure of a curriculum, I need that, don't be afraid to, again, step outside of the box. Don't be afraid to do that. And I've talked to and see so many people that ask about, how do you afford to homeschool? Well, again, in my opinion, if you have a library card, if you have an internet connection, um, you can you can provide rich learning opportunities for your kids.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people get caught up, particularly in the high school years, with meeting college requirements. And they
Mm,
think that I've got to do what the schools do. And
yes.
in fact, you don't. If your child knows how to learn, you're going to get all of that stuff in. If they love to learn, they're going to remember it. If they have to learn it, they're going to forget it as soon as the test is done. And they're not going to retain it. So if they love learning and know how to learn, they can learn anything, which is the best preparation for college. And you'd be surprised, they'll do pretty well on things like the ACT and SAT too, even if you don't go through the standard things. Now, if you're going to go to college, you're going to meet their entry requirements. So you're going to have a certain number of English, a certain number of history, a certain number of maths. Okay, we got some writing credits and things out of being on yearbook staff. You do a lot of writing on the yearbook.
Mm-hmm.
You learn a lot. If you're the editor, you are correcting grammar and everything else for everybody. And so you can count credits like that without taking a textbook English course.
Mm,
So think of the possibilities in what you're doing in some of the activities that really do qualify and actually prepare you well for college.
I love that. And I love the example of you and your kids as well, that clearly they got into college. They did very, very well. Your son has lots of degrees, and it wasn't a traditional high school, what we would think of as, oh, we did this class and this class and this class. And the transcript, I'm sure, looked a little different than maybe some traditional transcripts, but clearly that did not hold them back at all. So the point is, they learn how to learn and they love to learn.
And you hit on a point that when I'm teaching about transcripts, I try to make this point when, because I review, I'm one of the people that reviews the NCHE scholarship applications.
Mm.
And when the transcripts come in and they all look at carbon copy, carbon copy, carbon copy, what is it about your transcript that stands out and makes that admissions counselor take a second look? You have the
Yes.
opportunity as a homeschool to put some really cool things in there, but you've got to have some really cool experiences to put them in there.
Oh, I love that. That is so great. Um, so another part of homeschooling. So we always get asked about curriculum. We also always get asked about socialization. So we like to sometimes do what have we seen on the internet lately? And I have seen, even in this past week, people that say, I'm giving up on homeschooling because we have no community. We have no friends. And it's baffling to me because we have so many homeschoolers in North Carolina. Um, but there are still some homeschool students, some homeschool families out there that are lonely. And so they revert back to, well, it must be homeschooling's fault. So let's go back to what we know, the provided socialization. Where can they find their community? So what would you say to those people that say, we're lonely, we don't know what to do?
My first recommendation is join a co-op. Join a
Yes.
co-op. It's you get activities, competitions, all kinds of things for your kids. Speech and debate was fabulous for us. It's
Mm.
a community event. It's not something you do by yourself unless you do Lincoln Douglas. So, but joining a co-op doesn't just give your kids stuff. It puts you as a parent in a whole sea of mentors. And I would stand in the halls and just cling on the words of people that had gone before. What curriculum did they use? What tests did they use? How did they structure their day? And I found people that I liked and valued their family structure and how they were schooling. And I became more like that.
Mhm.
So co-op is my first go-to. But a lot of people pull away from a co-op because to be in a co-op, you have to offer something. That's a growing experience for you. And I
Right.
encourage you to not be afraid of that. You have to participate in a co-op. It's people coming and cooperatively teaching our kids, and everybody's
Right.
got something they can offer. But there's also sports, and you may not be aware that NCHE has a whole sports league um, for middle school and up, and a number of
Mhm.
sports. And there aren't teams uniformly distributed across the state. But I wanted volleyball for my daughter. And the only
Mhm.
way we could keep the middle school program going was if I coached. And so I stepped up and coached. And that too, diamonds are formed under pressure. And when you have to dig in and work hard, you get so much from it. And so I would encourage you to be involved in things that may require something of you because it builds you as well. And it gives your kids those opportunities. The sports is good. There are always meetups and field trips and things that you can tap into. But I think for regular ongoing community, I co-op is my go-to.
Yes, I agree. We've been a part of a couple of different types of co-ops over the years. Um, we've been a part of just a traditional kind of homeschool group that does field trips and mom's night out and dances and different kind of social activities. And that's been a great source of friendships and community for us. But we also have been a part of kind of the more academic co-op. And that's been a super great source of friendships for both me and my kids. It's been beautiful. Um, Another place that we really found rich friendships that I was sort of not expecting is we go to a community Bible study, and it has homeschool classes all the way up through 12th grade. And we've been involved in that for a long time, and my kids have found wonderful friendships, as have I. over the years from that. It's been really wonderful. Another thing that I wanted to make sure I say is sometimes if there's not an opportunity out there that you're looking for, you might need to start something yourself. Like what you were saying about the volleyball, Diane, that when my daughter was in middle school, she went through kind of a little lonely period. And another mom and I were talking about it. We were like, well, our girls love to read. Let's start a book club. And so we started a homeschool middle school girls book club. And these girls came together. It was just once a month, so it wasn't super time consuming. And they read the book. We did some activities. We had some snacks, and it was wonderful. It went on for several years, even into high school. And it was such a great source of friendship and community, not just for my daughter, but also for me. And that was just an example of if you want something and it's not available in your area, maybe you can start it. Or maybe you can reach out to somebody close to you and you can team up and start it if you don't want to do it by yourself. Um, but there's so many opportunities. One place I would tell people to start if they're just completely lost is go to nche.com and look up your region. We have the state divided into 9 regions based on geography. Find your region and look up the different groups that we have listed there. That might give you a place to start.
And if you find a group that isn't listed there, please let us know. It's sometimes hard to
Yes,
find them, but
absolutely.
some of the areas, particularly in your big cities, you have a lot of groups. But even here in Fayetteville, we have a couple of really good, big, strong groups. And so
Mm.
they're well distributed across the state. We do have a lot of homeschoolers in this state.
We definitely do, for sure. All right. Well, last but not least, we always like to talk a little bit about what's going on within CHE. So, first off, I would love for you as development director to tell us what's coming up.
Oh, I'm excited. We're coming up on the end of year campaign, and we are a member and donor funded nonprofit. So without participation from our community, NCHE really can't do the things that we're doing. So December 1st is our kickoff, and you'll be hearing more about that, but it will run the full month of December. So prayerfully plan ahead and think about what you might be able to offer to NCHE. We're in a time of turmoil, and NCHE
Yes.
may be called again in large measure to protect your rights and things. So just undergird us with what you can.
Yes, that's so important. So keep your eye out for that. It's going to be coming up with lots of information and opportunities. Another thing always is field trips. We're going back to see the Charlotte Hornets in January. I am so excited about this. Yes, it's one of my personal favorites, and I have a teenage boy who loves basketball. So it's one of his personal favorites as well. So we'll be there. Tickets are already being sold, so look for those. You can find that on our website, nche.com. Um, Another thing is winter sports. I know, Diane, another hat you wear sometimes is posting about sports. So we have some winter sports going on with NCHE AC, which is our athletic. Is it a conference or commission? I always get this wrong.
But the C is actually for committee. I've
Thank
been
you,
told it
committee.
used
Okay.
to be commission, but I think it's a committee. So it's the athletic committee.
Okay, good. I always get that wrong. But you can, if you're interested, a lot of the basketball is starting or has already started. But you can go on ncheac.com and you can look in your area and find what sports we have available for your middle and high schoolers. And it's really a wonderful program. There's a lot out there for that.
Let me
Go ahead.
just plug that we have a couple of sports that play out in the winter that you don't have to be part of a team to be on. The
Great.
swimming is really popular, and we have some really good swimmers in the state. You can come as part of a team, or you can come as an individual. Just watch for the registration because I'll be posting when that starts. And the other one that you could participate in with or without a club is fencing. And so
Yeah.
watch out for those because they'll both be coming up. Golf may be another. Golf is kind of in and out, and some years we have it and some years we don't. So I don't know yet whether golf will be there for this year, but there are also team sports. As Amanda said, go on NCHEAC, look up the sports and see what might be of interest to you.
That is awesome. I love that there are, if you are involved in a team or if you're not, there's lots of opportunities out there. Um, the last thing I was going to mention was there are a lot of different ways to get your information about NCHE and what's going on with us. So I wanted to make sure that you know, all of you listening or watching out there, that you can subscribe to an NCHE email. We have an email newsletter that goes out every single week. That has a lot of information. We have a vibrant Facebook group, so make sure that you check that out. We also have an Instagram that has a lot of posts on it, a lot of information that way. And last but not least, our website has so much information on it. You can find out about everything. All of these things that we've talked about, you can find out more about on our website. So always go to nche.com. And as always, if you have any questions, you have any comments, please contact us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. And always, please like, subscribe, enable your notifications, share with your friends. We want to get the word out about this show. Our goal, as always, is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. So until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.